At my birthday party, my fiancé casually peeled a bowl of shrimp for his ex-girlfriend. The entire room held its breath, all eyes on me. After a brief pause, I put down my chopsticks, staring at the people around me. I asked with a look of confusion, "Why is everyone staring at me? Since when did humans evolve to get full just by inhaling?" On my 28th birthday, my fiancé, Caleb Vance, threw a party for me. Someone in the group chat had teased us, asking if wedding bells were in our near future. I stared at the message, feeling a little dazed. We had been together for 6 or 7 years since graduation. It really was time to take our relationship to the next level. I remembered him asking me last month what kind of flowers I liked. It didn't seem to come out of nowhere. So today, I came home early, showered, changed, and put on a full face of makeup. If I was going to be proposed to tonight, I was determined to be the most beautiful woman in the room. When I arrived, most of the guests were already there. An entire wall of roses stood at the entrance, and the venue was decorated with extravagant luxury. It wasn't my style, but who could dislike it when someone put in so much effort to please you? Everyone cast envious glances my way. I've got to say, Caleb knows romance. A rose wall this big. Even a guy like me is moved. Caleb and I had been together for 6 years, and he had planned my birthday party every year. Truthfully, before him, I never made a big deal out of my birthdays. At most, I'd invite a few close friends for a simple dinner. But he seemed to have an inexplicable passion and persistence for planning birthday extravaganzas. He went all out for both of our birthdays every year, inviting a crowd of people. I had even started to recognize some of the unfamiliar faces. Caleb is so unoriginal. My best friend, Mia, complained in a low voice. "It's this rose wall every single year." You can't say he didn't put in any effort, because a wall this big takes time to prepare. But you can't say he did, because it's the same few things every year. Honestly, I can't decide if it's thoughtful or lazy. Her words brought me back down to earth. She was right. Every year, I got swept up in this brief moment of excitement, only to be let down again. I never seemed to learn. But as the saying goes, you don't bite the hand that feeds you. Since Caleb had personally arranged this party, as his fiancé, I couldn't completely embarrass him. Even though I was now certain he wasn't going to propose today, I put on a gracious smile and walked towards him. "Caleb," I called out. His own smile faltered for a second before snapping back into place. "You're here." Caleb came over and gripped my hand tightly. His palm was sweating. I knew he was hiding something. He was a terrible liar. I subtly pulled my hand away and smiled at the guilty-looking man. "Come on. Since you've gathered everyone, why are we all standing at the door? Let's go in and eat." Caleb seemed to remember what the day was for and started ushering the guests inside. Everyone started moving toward the private dining room. As soon as I walked in, my eyes landed on an unfamiliar girl sitting in the seat of honor. According to the hierarchy of today's event, that seat should have been mine. But even if I wasn't the guest of honor, I was still entitled to that seat, because I was Isabel Reed, the heiress of the Reed Corporation, the largest enterprise in the city. Without exception, everyone here today relied on my family's business. While my family wasn't as old money as the Vances, we had made the right bets on several major projects and kept up with industry trends. Now, in terms of both scale and capital, we were far stronger than these so-called established families. If you wanted to survive, to keep making money, to maintain your current lifestyle, you had to align with the right people. So, even if they didn't like it, they would all treat me as their leader in public. The sudden development silenced the crowd that had just been buzzing about a proposal. After all, it had been a long time since I'd been treated with such disrespect. Standing next to me was Caleb's childhood friend, Paul, who let out a quiet, "What the hell?" I scanned the room. From the expressions on Caleb's friends' faces, I could tell they all knew this girl. I turned to Caleb. "Good." He looked guilty. That meant the woman sitting in my seat had to be his unforgettable ex-girlfriend, Scarlett Chin. They had been broken up for 6 or 7 years, and yet they were back in touch. How magnanimous of him. "Miss Chin, I believe you're in the wrong seat," I said, helpfully. "Your seat should be over there." I pointed to another table, where Caleb had seated a random group of people I didn't know. Scarlett stood up with an apologetic look. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know this was your seat." Then, She put on an expression like she was about to burst into tears, as if I were the one bullying her. Naturally, I didn't respond, considering my status versus hers. Arguing with her would only cheapen me. Of course, you might say I was being pretentious, but I was the star of the show today. If I didn't put on an act at my own party, was I supposed to go to someone else's turf and throw my weight around like her? That would be utterly classless. Since I said nothing, no one else dared to speak to her. Without an audience, her one-woman show couldn't go on. The atmosphere instantly became awkward. Scarlett had the sense to realize this. Seeing that no one was paying her any attention, she flushed red and gave up the seat. I, of course, didn't hesitate and sat right down, waiting for the food to be served. After all, the restaurant was genuinely excellent. I had just taken out my phone when I heard a collective gasp. I looked up to see that Caleb had pulled Scarlett by the arm and seated her in the chair to his left. Oh, how interesting. I smirked. Looks like we were in for a good show tonight. Even though I was one of the main characters, being a spectator is always fun. Seeing that I hadn't said anything, the others kept quiet, though the looks they gave Caleb had changed significantly. I glanced at Caleb, who was still fussing over Scarlett, carefully arranging the hem of her dress, since he was flaunting it right in my face. It was probably time to replace this disobedient fiancé. The food at this hotel was excellent, but the downside was that it was popular and service was slow. After Caleb's little performance, my attitude had cooled considerably, and the atmosphere in the room grew incredibly tense. Most of the people here today, aside from a few friends, were business associates who relied on my family's company. They had fought for an invitation to this boring party just to get on my good side and ensure their own company's survival. After this stunt, they probably hated Caleb's guts. They were all waiting for me to say something, to give them an excuse to release their pent-up frustration. Unfortunately for them, I've never been one to act as a shield for others. I prefer to solve my own problems. Soon enough, someone, emboldened by alcohol, stood up and shouted, "Caleb, your fiancé is sitting right there. What are you doing getting all cozy with this other woman? You kept saying this was a surprise for your darling. So which damn darling are we talking about today? Which darling?" I raised an eyebrow. Ooh, an unexpected twist. In all our years together, Caleb had always just called me by my name. I had no issue with that. In the adult world, all that lovey-dovey stuff is pretty meaningless. But this man's righteous indignation implied that Caleb had used the term darling in front of them more than once. And since everyone knew I was his fiancé, they naturally assumed he was talking about me. It turned out he was referring to someone else. My eyes met Scarlett's. She had regained her composed, magnanimous demeanor, though a single tear still clung to her eyelashes. She was, admittedly, quite pretty. Even as a woman, I could see the appeal. I was hoping to see what other shocking secrets the speaker would reveal. But just then, the food arrived. The drama came to an abrupt halt. I exchanged a look with Mia, and we both saw the disappointment in each other's eyes. Oh well, Mia. What a shame. It didn't escalate. I have a natural weakness for good food. So after a moment of disappointment, I threw myself into the meal. Just as I was lamenting that the delicious chicken leg had been chopped up instead of served whole, I noticed Mia gasp. I looked up, confused, and saw that everyone had a strange expression on their face. I turned my head and saw Caleb, a notorious germaphobe, calmly peeling shrimp. In just a short time, he had already peeled a small bowlful. Seeing the pitying looks from the others, I knew that bowl of shrimp wasn't for me. So I decided to continue enjoying my meal, because I'm allergic to shellfish. Many people knew this, which is why it was never served at any gathering I attended. But, as it happened, Scarlett absolutely loved it. As for how I knew that, well, the man had just finished publicly humiliating me. Sure enough, after peeling the shrimp, Caleb took off his plastic gloves and casually placed the bowl in front of Scarlett. A collective gasp went around the room. I just found this crowd annoying, like a bunch of ghosts. Faced with such delicious food, all they did was inhale sharply. What was so hard about eating quietly? It was really ruining my appetite. I dropped my chopsticks with a clatter. As I turned my head, I saw Caleb's hand, still hovering, before he quickly retracted it. His eyes flashed with panic. I turned to the others who were staring at me and said, with an air of boredom, Why is everyone looking at me? Is watching me going to fill your stomachs? When they still didn't move, I snapped, feigning frustration. What are you still staring for? The food's getting cold. No one could figure out what I was thinking. Someone nearby was about to get up and play peacemaker, but Scarlett beat him to it. With an air of being in complete control, she picked up the bowl of shrimp and personally brought it over to me, offering it with an apologetic smile. Caleb just did it out of habit. Don't be mad. How clever she was. With one simple action and a short sentence, she had completely absolved herself of any blame. It was as if I was now the one being unreasonable. Sure enough, Caleb wiped his hands with a wet towel and looked at me, his voice inexplicably cold. Isabel, what kind of tantrum are you throwing? Hearing this, I frowned. What did he mean? What kind of tantrum? Caleb and I were university classmates. Though, to be honest, classmates. Just met we sat in the same lecture hall. It wasn't until our third year, when we represented the university at a competition together, that we even exchanged numbers. But that was it. My social circle has always been small. Just a few close friends I grew up with. Caleb was the opposite. From the moment he started university, he was always surrounded by people, friends, and those who needed to curry favor with him. That's why I was a bit surprised to see him at a matchmaking event. A man who was constantly the center of attention shouldn't be short on women. That event was what brought us together. After seeing each other more frequently, he proposed. Of course, I didn't hesitate to say yes. A big reason I was at a matchmaking event in the first place was that I needed to find a reliable father for my future child. Not only was Caleb an acquaintance, but he was also undeniably handsome, very suitable to be the father of my child. And so we dated. Until now. Not long after we got together. However, the Vance family began its decline. Or perhaps it had been declining for a while, and they had just managed to hide it. After finding a cash cow like me, his family stopped even pretending. One thing was certain. From that day on, our roles reversed, and Caleb's attitude changed. The most obvious manifestation was him inviting a bunch of strangers to my birthday every year and setting up that nauseating rose wall. Who the hell even liked that rose wall? Now, looking at the scowling Caleb and the smug Scarlett, I had a pretty good idea. I slowly picked up a napkin, wiped my mouth, reapplied my lipstick, and then looked at Caleb. I'm sorry. What did you just say? I was eating and didn't quite hear you. I cupped my hand to my ear as if I were genuinely hard of hearing. Could Mr. Vance please repeat that? This was my tell before I lost my temper. Anyone who had ever worked with me knew it. Several people at the table had already put down their chopsticks and quietly excused themselves, leaving the stage to me. Caleb's tone softened, but he still tried to sound firm. Isabel, all I did was give the shrimp to the wrong person. Can't we talk about this at home? Do you have to make a scene here? Huh. I let out a small laugh. This man had some nerve. Penny, I called out. A young woman raised her hand and came to my side. Isabel, I'm here. She was my assistant. A sweet girl with a perpetual smile. Every time I saw her, my heart melted, which is why I had taken her under my wing. I pinched her chubby cheek. You like shrimp, don't you? Take this and eat it. It's already peeled. No sense in letting it go to waste. You got it. Penny's eyes curved into crescent moons. She took the large bowl of shrimp from me happily. Penny guarantees mission accomplished. Looking at Penny, my mood instantly improved. Perhaps my giving away the shrimp had pricked Caleb's fragile ego again, because he shot up from his chair and yelled, Isabel Reed, what is the meaning of this? His unstable mood was getting on my nerves. My expression turned serious. Caleb, did I give you the wrong impression? I just glanced at him, and his bravado deflated. His shoulders slumped. I was sitting, and he was standing. But right now, I had the upper hand, because I had all the power. The atmosphere froze. After a long moment, I heard Caleb mumble through clenched teeth. I'm sorry. Louder. I can't hear you. I'm sorry. Caleb shouted, though his eyes looked like he wanted to eat me alive. I gave him a cool look. What are you yelling for? Trying to show everyone how loud you are. Caleb's face went through a fascinating range of colors. I didn't spare him another glance. Mia had Scarlett firmly in hand. It must be so hard for you two lovebirds, I said, looking between them. But you shouldn't have used my money to satisfy your needs. And don't say I didn't warn you. I'm not some great philanthropist. What you've stolen from me, you will pay back. With that, I gently patted Caleb's cheek, my voice sweet. As for you, go home and ask your parents whose name is on your family's company deeds now. My smile vanished. And while you're at it, have a good long think about how your family business fell apart, and what's allowing it to barely hang on. The man who had been so arrogant just moments before turned deathly pale, unable to process my words. A waiter, hearing the commotion, rushed over, seeing the young girl's helplessness. I had no intention of making things difficult for her. I don't think you have the authority to handle this. Go get your manager. She could tell she was out of her depth and politely said, please wait a moment. Ma'am, I'll get the manager right away. Good. I nodded and leaned back in my chair to rest, using my money to please his lover and her friends. That was just unacceptable. The manager arrived quickly. Ms. Reed. I'm so sorry. We've been a bit busy, he said, panting. How may I help you? Seeing his smiling face, I didn't make things hard for him. I just asked directly, was today's event charged to my account? I was a regular here and had a house account. Usually, a dedicated staff member handled my bookings. After today's fiasco, I was starting to wonder how much money I had unknowingly wasted. Yes, Ms. Reed. When Mr. Vance called, those were his instructions, the manager said, wiping sweat from his brow. We thought, since he's your fiancé, and he said it was a birthday surprise for you, we didn't feel the need to call and confirm. I see. I nodded. Since it was booked in my name, my dietary restrictions should have been noted. From the day I opened this account, I made it clear that I'm allergic to shellfish. Since my account is paying for this, the menu should have been to my taste. Why was there shrimp on the table? The manager paled, glancing at the staff member behind him, who quickly spoke up. Please forgive us. Ms. Reed. Mr. Vance specifically requested it. He said there was an important guest to entertain. The manager immediately apologized. My deepest apologies. Ms. Reed. It was our oversight. Please. This meal is on the house. How does that sound? No need. I shook my head. I can afford a farewell dinner, but I do have a matter I need you to handle. The manager was a sharp man. He immediately said, of course. Anything within my power. I will have it done for you. You have records of all transactions, correct? I asked. I need a complete history of all charges to my account. Yes, of course. We can do that. The manager nodded repeatedly. It's just that your account has been used quite frequently, so it might take a little while to compile. Is that all right? That's fine. I had no intention of troubling innocent people. When you're done, call this number. My lawyer will be in touch. The manager understood what I needed. He smiled and assured me, it will be to your satisfaction. Hearing his confident reply, I smiled back. I'll be waiting for your good news. With that, I patted his shoulder, called Mia and Penny, and left. After leaving the hotel, the three of us went to the food street near the university. There was no shortage of things to eat there. My dad's call came on our way back, accompanied by a large red envelope of cash. They had been traveling and had planned to rush back for my birthday, but I told them not to. After all, they had worked hard to raise me, and now that they finally had time to themselves, I didn't want to disturb them. After a few words with Dad, the phone was passed to Mom. Perhaps sensing my low spirits, she started a video call after hanging up. The moment I saw her face, I felt my composure crumble. Mom, did someone upset you? Yeah, then hit back. Your father and I didn't work our whole lives for you to be bullied, Mom said, smoothing the face mask she was wearing. If it comes to it, we'll just hire a professional manager. When we're dead, we won't see any of it anyway. So while you're alive, don't let yourself be wronged. I murmured in agreement, feeling a wave of sadness. Penny, seeing my state, leaned forward from the back seat. Auntie, it's Penny. Oh, Penny dear, let me see you. Oh, you've gotten even cuter. I handed the phone to Penny and listened to their cheerful chatter. My mood began to lift. Made up your mind? Mia glanced at me, then grumbled. I told you a long time ago you should have kicked that scumbag to the curb. Look, how long have we been out? Not a single call from him. He's definitely out fooling around with that woman. It makes me so mad. How dare he treat you like this? Tomorrow, I'm having my brother go beat him up. Calm down, I said, trying to placate her. Your brother is a public servant now. He can't go around avenging us like when we were kids. Oomph. Mia snorted. Then what good is he? Ha ha. I laughed. We can't just disown him, can we? Sigh. Mia sighed. Anyway, all you wanted was a baby. It doesn't matter who the father is. If worst comes to worst, just use my brother. He doesn't smoke or drink, so his health must be top notch. Pfft. I nearly spat out my water. Mia, that was a bit crude. Just as I was blushing, a voice came from the back seat. That's an idea. We've known young Alex since he was a boy. We know his background. Mom. I immediately cut off my mother's train of thought. Don't you start, too. With that, I took the phone and ended the video call. We joked around like that all the way home, and by the time we arrived, I was feeling much better. The August heat in the city was so intense that even the cicadas sounded weary. I stood before the floor, too, ceiling windows on the top floor of the Reed Corporation building, unconsciously tracing the rim of my coffee cup. The vibration of my phone brought me back to reality. The name, Mr. Davis, SQ, glowed on the screen. 3 days had passed since the birthday party. In those 3 days, before my hammer had even fallen, the Vance family was already collapsing. MS. Reed. We have it all. Mr. Davis's voice was tinged with excitement. In the last 5 years, Caleb Vance used your account for 427 hotel charges. 305 of them are linked to Scarlett Chin. And here's the interesting part. He paused. Last Wednesday's charge was for the presidential suite. We also discovered that Miss Chen's birthday is the same day as yours, and the strangers at your party were all her relatives. Furthermore, after each event, Caleb would send them various gifts in your name. The person in charge of your related finances was in collusion with him and received substantial benefits. The glass wall reflected my hand clenching, my nails making a sharp sound against the cup. So those rose walls were never for me. No wonder he had such an obsession with hosting birthday parties. It turned out he was using my money to buy favors for his other life. How capable of him. I'm not particularly interested in the details, I said, watching the scurrying people below. Since I've entrusted this matter entirely to you, what I really want to know is when I'll get all my money back. It may take some effort, he replied. Mr. Davis, I'm not paying you your exorbitant fees to hear you say things like that. I was not at all satisfied with his answer. He must have heard my displeasure because he immediately guaranteed. Rest assured, MS. Reed, we will recover every single cent for you. The moment I hung up, Mia burst in, her high heels sinking into the plush carpet. I found it all out. Scarlett Chin was Caleb's high school classmate. She dumped him back then because his family was going bankrupt and ran off with some rich kid. 2 years later, the rich kid went bankrupt, so she came crawling back. The two of them hit it off again and have been at it ever since. She threw a file on my desk. And get this. The woman lost $8 million in Macau last month. I looked at the photos of Scarlett's frenzied gambling and suddenly remembered her pitiful act at the party. Her trembling fingers then weren't from being wronged. They were probably from withdrawal. What's the situation with the Vance family? I asked. The day you cut off their funding, their entire operation collapsed, Mia said, smiling like a cat that got the cream. I just got word that Caleb's dad was hospitalized with high blood pressure this morning. I drained the cold coffee in one gulp, the bitter taste spreading across my tongue. 7 years ago, Caleb had said his favorite thing was watching the focused look on my face when I drank coffee. Now I realized, what he was focused on was probably the money in my hand. My phone suddenly began to vibrate wildly. 37 missed calls, all from Caleb. Mia, sharp-eyed as ever, saw the caller ID. You're not still soft on him, are you? She asked, her tone accusatory. I put down my cup, my face scrunching up. If you knew how much of my money he's spent over the years, you'd understand that sentiment is a luxury I can't afford. Just as Mia was about to retort, my phone rang again. I thought it was Caleb, but it was Scarlett, asking to meet. Mia and I exchanged a look, excitement glinting in both our eyes. Was a scene straight out of a novel about to unfold. When Scarlett saw Mia and me arrive together, her expression stiffened. MS. Reed, you're in high spirits, bringing your little. Before Mia could explode, I slapped Scarlett hard across the face. I already let you off once for being a homewrecker, and you still come looking for a beating. How pathetic. What? Did my lawyer not inform you that you need to pay me back? Don't forget, the clothes on your back were bought by me. If you push me, I'll strip them off you right here and make you famous. At my words, the waiter who had been approaching stopped in his tracks. Society rarely sympathizes with the other woman, especially one who knew what she was doing. Seeing the waiter's hesitation, I nodded at him. Don't worry, we're going to have a very calm conversation now. Perhaps my sincerity was convincing, because the waiter left us alone. Scarlett clutched her face, glaring at me with hatred, but didn't dare do anything else. That slap had not been light. Seeing her quiet down, I nodded in satisfaction. Now, tell me, why did you want to see me? Scarlett grit her teeth and threw a lab report on the table. I'm pregnant. It's Caleb's. I was confused. So you're pregnant. It's not mine. Did you call me here to hear me say congratulations? At this, Scarlett suddenly looked proud. Caleb told me everything. Your health isn't good. You can't get pregnant. Anyway, this child is his. As long as you agree to give me $8 million after I give birth, the child is yours. The more she spoke, the more alarmed I became. I quickly cut the lawbreaker off. Listen, you went to college. Let me remind you that surrogacy for profit and selling children are illegal. If you want to end up in a jail cell, fine. But leave me out of it. Scarlett got anxious, thinking I was haggling. $5 million then. Hold on. I held up my hand to stop her, quickly called the waiter, paid the bill, and grabbed Mia. We practically fled the scene. That was a close one. I came out for some drama and almost ended up an accessory to a crime. When you're down on your luck, you always run into your enemies. Case in point, Mia and I had just finished dissecting Scarlett's stupidity when I looked up and saw the grim face of Caleb. He was standing at the entrance of the cafe, his expression so dark it could drip ink. His suit was wrinkled like pickled vegetables. His tie was askew, and his eyes were bloodshot. He looked like a cornered animal, a far cry from the dashing figure he had cut just a few days ago. Isabel Reed. He stormed over in 3 strides and grabbed my wrist. Are you determined to destroy me completely? Mia immediately stepped in front of me. Caleb, what's wrong with you? The cafe's patrons all turned to stare. I patted Mia's shoulder, signaling her to move, then calmly faced the man who was once so charming. Mr. Vance, please mind your surroundings. My surroundings? Caleb sneered, his voice slow. Did you mind your surroundings when you cut off my funding? Did you mind them when you had my accounts investigated? Now my father is in the ICU. Are you satisfied? I leisurely straightened my sleeve. Caleb, you used my funds without authorization 427 times. 305 of those times were for Scarlett Chin. Last Wednesday, you two booked the presidential suite on my membership card. I looked up at him. Shall I continue? Caleb's face went from red to white, but his grip on my wrist tightened. I'll pay that money back. But do you have any idea that because of you, no one in the entire city will do business with my family now? That just means they're smart, I said, yanking my hand free. They know who they can afford to cross and who they can't. Caleb's eyes suddenly turned vicious. Isabel, don't push me. I knew that look all too well. It was the desperation of a gambler who had just lost his last chip. I discreetly gave Mia a look. She understood and stepped aside to make a call. Caleb, I said, softening my tone. It's not too late to stop. Stop. He laughed neurotically. I can't even afford the hospital deposit. What am I supposed to pay you back with? He suddenly lowered his voice. But I know you have a way. The Reed Corporation has such massive cash flow. A few million is nothing to you. A chill went down my spine. This wasn't a negotiation. It was a threat. They say you can't fall in the same place twice. And you shouldn't be soft on the same person twice. With that thought, I shifted my weight, took a step back, and kicked him squarely in the chest. Caught off guard, Caleb fell to the ground with a loud thud. A small knife clattered out of his pocket. He clutched his chest, his face pale, clearly in pain. Mia burst out laughing. Isabel, not bad. I stretched my leg. All those tuition fees weren't for nothing. Caleb struggled to his feet, his eyes burning with hatred. Isabel Reed, you dare to hit me? So what if I did? I sneered. You stole my money to support your mistress, and you expect me to be reasonable? His face was livid. Just as he was about to lunge at me, mall security guards arrived and blocked his path. Sir, please calm down, one of them said sternly. Caleb gritted his teeth. Do you know who I am? How dare you stop me? The guard was impassive. Regardless of who you are. Sir, if you cause a disturbance in public, we have the right to ask you to leave. I couldn't be bothered with him anymore. I said to the guards. Thank you for your help. This gentleman seems a bit unstable and could probably use some time to cool off. With that, I took Mia and left. Perhaps out of desperation, Caleb and Scarlett actually started a live stream online. The content, of course, was an attempt to slander me, to paint me as a homewrecker and gain public sympathy to turn their situation around. Gossip about the rich, especially about their relationships, is always a huge draw. I myself often used a burner account to listen to paparazzi live streams. However, their reality was far from their fantasy. From the moment Caleb and I had our falling out, my team had been on high alert. The second their stream went live, my people took action, controlling the narrative in the chat. And as the party involved, I immediately called the police. So, for 5 minutes, the two of them jumped up and down like clowns on their stream, only to be taken away by the police in front of their entire live audience. My team and I seized the opportunity, redirecting the curious onlookers from their banned stream to my company's official account. I don't know where Mia found our new host, but she was brilliant. She managed to satisfy the audience's craving for gossip while seamlessly weaving in promotions for our company's products. Exciting content, reasonable prices. The sales volume from that one night silenced the board members who had been critical of me. After all, we were all here to make money. Now that the money was pouring in, there was no need for pointless arguments. 3 months later, the verdict came down for Caleb and Scarlett. Vance Industries officially declared bankruptcy. All its assets were auctioned off to pay its debts. I stood outside the courthouse, the sunlight so bright it was blinding. Mia handed me a bubble tea. Feel better? I took a sip. Ugh. She'd added ice. It's all right. At least I got all my money back. Forget the money, Mia said, rolling her eyes. You got your life back. I smiled and put my arm around her shoulder. Come on, let's get something to eat. My treat. I paused, then added, and this time, I'm paying with my own money.